Hi, it's John Macdonald. We're on PS27. We're still looking at the theory, comparing track and road here. And this time we're going to look specifically at the tyre grip trade-off, especially where that's concerned with trail braking into corners and beginning to accelerate off the corners. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Thank you. Let's look over the page now, and I'm now going to explain a little bit more now about trail braking. I said I was going to tell you a bit more about that in a previous one, so let's explain more now about the differences between the road and the track. And remember, I've got videos now I'm going to show you on the track and on the road to show this all and prove it to you. First thing is, I want to go back again to this tyre grip trade-off diagram that I explained to you earlier, and I'm going to explain it in a bit more detail now. You'll notice here I've put a line from this corner up to this corner of the rectangle, coloured all in red, and what I've shown here is the grip available for cornering and braking. Now at this point here, 100%. Now, as we work our way along this though, notice we get to a point where there is no grip for cornering or braking. In other words, sorry, for leaning, this is it for leaning here, but as we start to use up the grip for if we're braking or leaning, we start to use grip up. So this end of the diagram here, the rider's not braking, they're not accelerating, so 100% of the available grip that's available is available for leaning. Now that 100% of available grip could be 100% off a lot on a nice dry day, it could be 100% off not a lot if it's a wet day. But you'll see if you go along here and you start using it up for acceleration, you're using up grip. If you're braking, you're using up grip. So you've now got less left over for leaning. Now that's an important concept, we need to remember that. That's why when you were doing your L test, you were taught, as you're going to go into the bend, release your brakes off completely and through the bend with your maintenance throttle. That way you had 50-50 weight distribution, there or thereabouts. You weren't using up any for acceleration, nothing for braking, so you had the maximum amount of grip for your leaning. You're also told to wait till the bike was upright out the corner before you began to accelerate. That way you're allowing maximum grip for the leaning, wait till the bike's upright, and that's a safe way to do it, especially in the wet for road riding. Now, let's look at the difference with track and where we can sometimes combine a little bit of track with a little bit of road. Now, if we come down here now and look at the road, I'm showing here that a rider is going to go around a given bend. Now this is just me giving you an idea, and it's 30 degrees of lean that this rider is going to require to go around the bend. We've got a timeline here, and the rider goes along the timeline not leaning, and then the rider begins to lean and then increases here, and it's more or less consistent then rate of lean. So it starts off gentle initially once you get the bike starting to lean, and then starts to increase the lean, and then as they're getting to the lean point that they require, in this case 30 degrees, starts to ease back the rate of transition. So that's a fairly slow transition for the road. It's what we call smooth transition between bends. Now, if it's a quick succession of bends, then you need to be able to increase that rate of transition so you're in the right position for maximum vision. So it's all very well saying, oh, you should always transition smoothly between bends. There are times when you need to be able to transition quicker. If it's wet, of course, you just slow down. Now, let's look at the brake pressure this person's got on. This person's got a certain amount of brake pressure on, and before they begin to lean, you'll notice, look, if we project that line down, before they even lean, the brakes were released completely. Now that's if they need to use the brakes at all, of course. They might just be doing it on throttling gears. But notice the brake was let go. There's no brakes on as they start to go in. Now that is your typical road rider. Let's look at it here. Here's what we've got now. I've overlaid the two just to give you an idea of what's actually happening here. So if we look at the lean angle one, there it is. There's the lean angle one going up, increasing the lean angle and levelling off. Look at what was happening with the brake. Let's look at the person that's not trail braking. They've got the brake pressure down here. They're not away up high like a racer would be high, much lower pressure. And notice they release the brakes before they actually start to really lean the motorcycle. So that's released off early. Let's look at the person that's doing trail braking. First of all, they maintain the speed on the straight for longer. So when they did come on the brakes, they have to come on the brake with more pressure. Stands for a reason. They're maintaining the speed for longer. They're closer to the bend, therefore they need more brake pressure on which to slow the bike down. So notice they keep the pressure on, and initially as the bike starts to go for its first sort of 10 degrees of lean, you can actually still have a little bit of pressure on here. Now as that bike up towards 10, they then start to ease the pressure off. Now notice at this point here, there's a crossover point on the timeline. And if you project that, I'm showing this here, that point here, way down here, if you take that as 30 degrees, might be 10 degrees at this crossover point. At this point here, when the brakes are now released completely, the rider might be above 10 degrees, might be about maybe getting on for 15 degrees, 12.5 to 15 degrees. So you're trail braking a bit of brake into the corner. Now, why is that an advantage? Well, If you know how to trail brake, it means that you can maintain the speed on the straight for longer. It means you can trail a little bit brake into the corner. It means you've put a bit of weight onto the front tyre of the motorcycle, which alters its rake and trail in such a way that helps the motorcycle to turn into the corner quicker. You've put a little bit of weight on the front tyre, which aids the turning, a little bit more grip, flattens the tyre out. If you imagine the balloon on the table, sitting there, it's not flat. It just doesn't hardly any contact parts. If you push down on the balloon though, it flattens the balloon out and gives more contact. So a little bit of weight on the front tyre helps it to turn in and gives a bit more grip. The problem is, of course, if you exceed the tyre grip trade-off, i.e. too much brake, too much lean, bump, front tyre slides out underneath you. So we can trail brake a little bit if the road surface is good, it's dry, we're skilled, we know what we're doing, we've got good tyres on, good suspension, good surface, we can see the integrity, nothing wrong with trail braking in, and I trail brake a lot. I like a little bit of weight on the nose of my motorcycle trail brake in. Plus there's another good reason for it. It means that I get confident being able to brake a little bit for that first 10 to maybe I push 15 degrees of lean. On the racetrack I'd brake in a lot more deeper, steeper angles than that. But it means now that if I did go into a bend and I needed to brake, I can brake. Also, which is very, very important as well, is that I've got my brakes warmed up. So if a situation does occur, I'm already on the brake, I'm near the brake, I'm ready to do something about it. Riding through corners with cold brakes, never touch your brake, being terrified to brake as you start to lean. I've seen a lot of people go into corners too fast, and all they need to do was just know that they just need to brake a little bit, and they could have got the speed off and went through the bend safely. Quickly down here, because I know Lou's arms are killing her here. That means the video must be getting long. Right then, we're going to look at the track one here now. So here we are now with the track. This rider's going up to 45 degrees of lean. Now that might look like a lot, but you might have seen Marc Marquez, he's way down, what, 62, 63 degrees of lean or something? Oh my God, his shoulder's on the deck. So 45 degree on a track, it's still not too much. But would I be prepared to lean this much on the roads? Probably not. You're starting to get really towards the limits of road riding, that's for sure. So let's just assume a 45 degree lean angle. The first thing you'll notice is the rate of change of lean. A rider on the track is prepared to lean much quicker. They have to be able to go into corners deeper and make that transition much quicker. That means they're applying a lot more pressure and the rate of application of pressure a lot quicker than your average road rider. The road rider makes a smooth, slow transition generally. The track rider makes a very quick, fast transition. So up to the 45 degree. Let's look at the brake pressure. Notice the brake pressure, they have a lot more brake pressure. Now when you start to get to top MotoGP level and Moto2 level, the brake pressures are quite phenomenal that these people are applying on their brakes. It's incredible. So lots of brake pressure because they want to maintain the straight as long as they can, compress that braking distance down to as short a time scale as possible, and then when they do release off, they release off fairly quickly because of the speed they're still carrying in. Now if we look over at the chart here, what does all this mean? Well, let's look, there's the sharper rate of degree of lean to higher, steeper lean angle. The rate of change is much quicker. They stayed on the brake for longer, started to trail brake off, and still had quite a lot of brake. And look here at the crossover point, we've still got quite a high angle of lean here. And notice here now, as they're starting to get their max lean, they really have to get that off here, because if they keep that brake on too long, then they risk tucking and folding the front tyre. The same as when they go on the brake initially, they don't just kind of like snatch it, there's still a build. In fact, with me in the racing, I don't close my throttle and go front brake first. I close my throttle, I've already got a bit of back brake on, so that as I'm closing the throttle, I'm compressing my front, force is already compressed, so I don't get that big transition onto the front. So I use a bit of back brake initially, just as I'm ready to close the throttle at the end of a straight, bit of back brake on, squatted the nose down, so as I close the throttle and I go on the front brake, that compression is taking place. As I brake hard, and it's all mostly front brake. I don't even bother with the rear brake really when I'm braking as hard as that, just very, very slight on the rear. And as I start to go into the corner and I start to trail off the front brake, that's where I'll maybe start bringing a little bit of rear brake in as I'm getting weight back onto the rear end of the bike, especially on a corner that's tightened up on itself. And when I had my thumb brake fitted, my thumb brake was perfect for that, just trail braking a little bit of rear brake in towards the end, just finishing the corner off and helping to pull the corner in. So what they're doing, if we go back up here now, it's my video finished now, is they're running the edge of this. Marc Marquez doesn't just run the edge, he's learnt that at the edge there's a ledge beyond the edge, as I think it was Matt Oxley that said that. I thought it was a brilliant saying. He's found the edge and he's found that there's a ledge beyond the edge. He's prepared to push beyond that, and he's on that limit. Even Carol Crutchlow, who's an incredible rider, is blown away by Marc Marquez's data. So these guys are pushing the edge all the time. Now there you go, I've explained the theory, some of the differences, but remember this is, I'm going to do track videos later. This is really just road-based stuff, and I'm letting you see the difference. What's the difference in lap times? Well, around Cartagena, Clinton and I, last time we were there doing low 1 minute 40s, we're sort of into the 1:39s now. Sounds pretty fast. It would put you near the front of a fast track day class, track group and fast group. You'd be near the front. However, with your 107% at British Championships, you'd be lucky to qualify with that. And if you did qualify, you'd certainly be on the back row. So there's an idea. Your fastest track day guys, unless they are real racers, fastest track day guys who you sometimes find that their times might just qualify them for the back row of a BSB championship. Now, basically we're all doing similar things. There's only one way up or a throttle, on and off and in between, and the same with the clutch and the gears. So it's what you do, where you do it, and how you do it, and how much you're prepared to push those limits that makes the difference in lap times, and that ability to be consistent time after time after time. Okay, there we go, that's the end of that video. We're going to now look at the track videos that I've got and the road videos, and we're going to start really building up this machine control understanding. Thank you very much. John Macdonald, over and out. Thank you.